All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Paige, and I'm in the Office of Undergraduate Admissions. I want to again thank you all for coming today. We have a great presentation from our College of Science and Math coming up. I just want to remind you that at any time you have any questions, there is a chat and a Q&A feature. You can put your questions in either of those, and I will pose them to the group. We have a diverse group here that will be able to answer a lot of various questions, so make sure you ask those questions. If at the end of the presentation, if you have any questions, you can always reach out to the Wright State Admissions Office and we can get you connected with any of these folks, as well as answer any general admissions questions that you have. So to begin today, we have the Interim Dean of the College of Science and Math, Dr. Catherine English.
Okay, I was going to start with introducing myself, but you already have. And a dean is someone you may never actually interact with. Mostly they're behind the scenes, and they have then a great team like I have here today. Director of Academic Services, Nick Christian, you'll hear from him in a little bit. Ashley Hill-Mercer, who's in charge of our internships, and Rob Cowles, who's in charge of pre-health, as well as we have several students that you'll get to talk to. So I guess my job is to give you a broad overview of the college and what makes science and mathematics their particular way. What are our specific characteristics? Is that we're always trying to figure out how something works, and we figure that out by either doing experiments and gathering evidence, then comparing that evidence to what our predictions were, what our hypothesis was, and modifying that as we gain new evidence. So in some sense, nothing is ever truly figured out because you can always be getting new evidence that might change what we think. Where the mathematics comes in is when we really understand something very, very well, we're able to start producing equations that then are able to predict what's going to happen in the future. And if we've truly understood something, we're able to do those predictions, and it turns out that they hold up in those future times. What's really key about us at Wright State and what I want to talk to you about today is that we have particular areas of expertise and strengths in several broad parts. One of them is environmental sciences. The other is in the biomedical sciences, so all kinds of things that would be helpful for you if you're interested in a health career. And then ultimately also the quantitative, just as I've spoken about, where we have mathematics and statistics, as well as physical sciences such as chemistry and physics. And they all work together, and we all interact across that. And the key thing is that those faculty, they are cutting-edge researchers. They're getting grants from the National Institutes of Health and Environmental Protection Agency, but they're also the ones who are in the classroom teaching the introductory courses that most of our majors will take in calculus, in introductory biology, chemistry, and physics, but also then in their areas of expertise teaching the upper level courses. For example, a molecular biologist might teach genetic mapping, and so you have access to all of that. And the final thing I want to just hammer home, and we will also do so in the other presentations and discussions that you have today, is I want to tell you about undergraduate research. You might think, well, I don't want to be a scientist. I don't want to be a researcher ultimately. But undergraduate research is not just for that. It's like another way of having an internship. But you have faculty here at Wright State that you get to know very well and who you can then go up to and ask, can I do some work with you? Can I figure out what you're doing in your project and work on that as well? And that just provides all kinds of experience in using data analytic programs, in using different kinds of specialized equipment. And so you get all these skills that actually you could use in any kind of job that has something to do with science or mathematics. But the most important thing that we do with our students is through the classes, with projects that you're doing inside the class, as well as in undergraduate research or an internship, is you learn how to think like a scientist or think like a mathematician or some combination of that. And that prepares you for any job that you would want to do across any fields. And so I hope you enjoy the rest of the presentation as you learn how that might mean something to you specifically. Is there something here that you are specifically interested in? Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. English, and welcome to everyone who's joining us this evening. I'm going to take a moment and share a file real quick, so hang with me for just a moment. Okay, it's loading up, and as Dr. English said, we are a college of scientists and mathematicians, so you'll see a little bit of that here. Here's Elizabeth looking through an X-ray of, I believe these are viruses, actually. So a little bit of a timely picture there of some things that we do. So she was working with in one of our labs as an undergraduate. She actually graduated about 2 years ago. So Dr. English talked about 3 of our career families, so to speak, of our majors. So environmental sciences and quantifiable and math is the second area, and behavioral and neuroscience is our third. Those who go on to medical school or pre-professional programs, as we call them, they tend to major in one of our behavioral or biomedical majors. Some of those majors include public health, psychology, chemistry, biology, neuroscience, biochemistry. A few of those are most of those programs. Environmental sciences, we have an earth environmental science major. Our chemistry is very much a green, and we'll go into those a little bit more in detail in a few minutes. And physics is also considered an environmental science. And then our quantifiable and mathematics, math and stats, and physics can also be a good one there. Within our statistics program, we have an exciting new program, or relatively new rejuvenated program, is our actuarial science. If you're not familiar with actuarial science, it is a program that in a profession that looks at risk assessment. So they work a lot in insurance agencies. They also work a lot in government and in corporate areas where they're assessing risk of just about any type of business. So you can see all the buildings that are marked with the yellow star are science and math, the College of Science and Math. So you can see we cover a significant part of campus, or we have space on a significant part of campus there. Hamilton Hall in the lower left is where we have our STEM City living learning community. So I'll talk about that in a moment. And then Ullman Hall, which is kind of in the middle of the screen there, that's where the Dean's office as well as our advising center is. And Brem Lab, attached to Ullman, is our pre-health advising and career services are there. So, and I'll introduce you to some of the folks who are involved in some of those areas here in a moment as well. So, as I mentioned, our majors, the biomedical and behavioral sciences, environmental sciences, and quantitative sciences, kind of those 3 career families. This evening, we're going to focus in a little bit on the environmental sciences and talk about some of the opportunities there. It's kind of one of the growing fields. A lot of folks interested in things like climate change and recycling, and lost the other word that I was trying to think of there. But we have 3 majors here. Within our biology major, you can focus in on ecological sciences. So some of the research that's happening within our college is listed in the gold areas of each of these boxes. So you can look at invasive plants and insects and microbes, the biogeochemical cycling, the aquatic and terrestrial interface, so where water and land come together, and how is all that cycling happening between the water and the chemicals. And so in chemistry, and we have a couple of our chemistry majors here with us, so you'll hear a little bit more about our chemistry program this evening. It is accredited by the American Chemical Society, which is great. And we have research happening in renewable energies, the aqueous geochemistry. Again, it's that boundary between solid and liquid states. Green methods for environmental analysis. So we have a faculty member who looks at air particulates and water pollution, some of those types of things. And environmental fate and transport of nanomaterials. So as we create things, especially chemical compounds, what are some of those nanomaterials that come off of that, and how do they continue living in the environment, or how can we keep them from mucking up the environment, for lack, I'm using a lot of great technical terms here. Earth and environmental sciences, Dr. English talked about some recent grant funding So one of our faculty members just received a National Science Foundation grant to explore how nitrogen is being cycled in Lake Erie and one of the other Great Lakes. So if you've heard about if you've been up to the Great Lakes recently, especially Lake Erie, I was up there about a year ago in the Toledo and the Maumee Bay area, and it was just this green sludge caused by too much nitrogen in the water. And so looking at some of those types of things, groundwater flow and processes, surface water hydrology. So if these things interest you, some of our environmental science areas may be of interest to you. How some of our alumni are using this. So here are a few news stories, and you can look up any of these individuals by name in the search bar at wright.edu, and you can get their full story. Ryan Schell on the bottom left is a PhD candidate in our EES, our Earth and Environmental Science program. He's studying biodiversity, biogeography, and paleoecology of marine vertebrates. So he's working with sharks and whales and looking at some of the issues around there. Dr. Alan Hunt on the top right is working with vegetation growth and how they use water resources and contribute or contribute to climate change and some of those types of things. Tara in the top left, she is actually in our biochemistry program, and she last fall, she earned an award for her scientific poster highlighting her research from the Ohio Physiological Society. In the bottom right, Caitlin and Allison. Caitlin is in the picture of the picture, and Allison is in the foreground. They spent several months on the USS Coast Guard cutter called the Healy, and they were actually measuring mercury in Arctic waters. So they've done quite a bit there in water and mercury and those types of things in water pollution. So how do we support students in being successful at Wright State and specifically in the College of Science and Math? So we use a lot of active learning techniques in our classrooms. Obviously, we're scientists, as Dr. English said, so we're always looking at doing science instead of just teaching and lecturing about it. So as much as possible, obviously you'll have a lot of labs, but you may have some active learning in some of the classes that you take as well. We also have some department help rooms, and we also have tutoring on campus centrally. So those are great opportunities to, if you've got a question here or there, whether it's a math class or whether it's, that first year in your chemistry or your biology class or just need some extra assistance, we have both departmental help rooms as well as tutoring center that you can either just go in just once when you need it here and there, or you can go on a regular basis just to be able to be successful in that class. I mentioned our STEM City community in Hamilton Hall. This is a living learning community where we put folks interested in STEM to live together. So a lot of that excitement and a lot of energy comes from that. So we just received a grant and we're hoping to be able to add some whiteboards on the walls, turn some blank walls into whiteboards. Just to, we found that STEM students love writing on whiteboards. Often we'll find in some of our classrooms, if it's empty, some students will just gather in there and start doing equations or chemical compounds and some of those types of things in the room. We have a mentoring program for first-year students, the CSTEM mentoring program. And that's an opportunity just to connect with an upper-class student, figure out how they made it through that first year, and get some support there and find ways to get involved on campus. We have an academic advising center, and I'm biased, but I believe our academic advising team is one of the best on campus. And we have Sarah Sikora with us. She's one of the members of our academic advising team, and I'm going to ask Sarah just to give a brief overview of the advising team and what they do and how they can help.
Like Nick said, my name is Sarah Sikora. I'm an academic advisor in the College of Science and Math, and most people can tell who I am because I'm the only one with a Southern accent. So, hey. I advise all psychology majors and minors in the College of Science and Math. So at Wright State, psychology is a little bit different. Most university psychology is housed in the College of Liberal Arts, and that's fine. COLA is beautiful and fantastic. But at Wright State, we look at psychology we're very big in the science of the field, which is why we put it in the College of Science and Math, because we want to know why people act the way that they do. And in COSM, your advising team, we tend to split majors. Now, all colleges divide their loads differently. I see all psychology majors and minors because we have so many. Right now we have about 500. That's why I see those guys. My friend Matt Skira, my colleague, he advises biology, all biology majors, and I think he might also help with some biochemistry. My friend Laura Marker advises chemistry majors, so she's really great. And we have different advisors because we have different specialties on how we can help you build your curriculums. So right now, for example, what the advisors are doing is that we are attempting to help our incoming freshmen build their fall schedules. So we don't pick classes willy-nilly, just pull them out of a hat and say, here, take this. It's like, no. We're trying to set you up, especially in chemistry and biology courses, because your future courses have so many prerequisites. We want to start you off on the right footing. Okay, so we start you off at this one because that's the prereq to this one, because that's the prereq to this one, along the way. But if you ever have a question about your classes, if you're ever not sure, am I supposed to take this? Sometimes students get a little confused on their math placement. Sometimes students have to change their schedule because life happens. That's when you email us and say, hey, I want to make sure this is okay. And if it's not, what are my options to do that? So that's what we're here for. We try to guide you through your curriculum so you can graduate in a timely and strong way, because that's what we ultimately want for you. How's that, Nick?
That's great. Thanks. Another service we have in our college is our career consultant, Ashley Hill-Mercer, and I'll give her a moment to talk about what her role is in supporting students.
All right, make sure I'm unmuted here. Hi, well, thanks for joining us this evening. Like Nick said, my name is Ashley Hill-Mercer. I'm cool with Ashley or Miss Hill or whatever variation of that makes you comfortable. The hyphen kind of throws people off. So whatever helps you find me, I'm happy with. So there's a lot of different things I can assist you with throughout your college years. And Dr. English touched on one of the ones that I think are most important while you're a student, and that is getting an internship or a co-op or volunteering. We like to collectively call those things experiential learning or experiential opportunities. And it's so important for students to take advantage of any and all of those types of opportunities while they're still a student. That's what, in conjunction with your degree, makes you extremely marketable and prepared for the workforce. Now, once you get closer towards the end of your 4 years, and hopefully you've gotten some experiences, you've met with me before, we can start to turn that into how do I get a job and what kind of jobs can I get with my degree. Many students come to see me because they know they love chemistry or they know they love psychology, but they don't know how that translates into a job outside of some of the standards that they've heard of. So I can help you explore careers, even see if the careers you're interested in are going to be employable as you graduate, if they're going to dictate where you live. Like for environmental science, that can be an area where, depending on the type of thing you want to work in, you might want to think about moving out west or moving down south, being near a coast, something like that. So I can help you with all of those pieces, help you build your resume or CV, explore and job search, how to tailor your resume for those pieces, even help you with mock interviews, whether that's for a job or for medical school. And I work with the other career consultants and career advisors as well. So when there are events or employers coming to campus that might be important for students to know and engage with, I can help connect you with employers too. So there's a lot to do now to get a job. It's not just getting a degree and hitting apply and kind of hoping something pans out. You have to be a little more proactive, and I can help you with all those pieces. So the earlier you think about it, the better you'll be when you go to get a job or even go to graduate school. So I'm happy to help whenever you need any help with that. So hope to meet some of you.
Great. Thanks. A lot of student organizations and within COSM. COSM is the College of Science and Math, so that's why we keep referring to COSM. So we have about 24 of them in each department. There are a couple of them and a couple college-wide, so including the Dean Circle, which is the group that you see on your screen in the black shirts. They are a group of undergraduate students who advise our dean in our dean's office on anything related to students. So we often, they get together on a regular basis, and we often ask them their input and have them help us design some events for students. So it's a fun group to have. Finally, we have another resource within the college. Rob Cowles is our pre-health coordinator. So Rob, I'll let you explain what a pre-health coordinator does.
Awesome. Thank you, Nick. Well, hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm super stoked that you have shown interest in Wright State, and I'm excited that you're wanting to learn more about what we have to offer for you. As Nick mentioned, I am our pre-health coordinator, and I am housed in the College of Science and Math, but I do work with students across all of the colleges on campus. My role specifically is to provide pre-health students with guidance directly related to their journey and application for any health professional schools, which you see on the screen. And I help to complement our academic advisors like Sarah and some of the others they had mentioned who help with your program of study and your courses within your academic majors. In the pre-professional program, we assist students interested in any of the careers that you see on your screen. And there's 10 of them listed for you. And then just a quick note, if the pre-professional program does not advise for nursing, but if you happen to be interested in nursing and you've attended this event, feel free to reach out to myself or someone else so we can definitely get you connected to someone within the nursing area to help you out. Nick, if you could advance that slide for me, that'd be great. And then just a friendly reminder, our pre-health at Wright State is not a major. It's more of a pathway. It is a set of support systems for you. It's an intention, it's a commitment by you as a student. And as you work through those, we're really helping students explore the different health careers that you have available. We have available throughout there, the work that's involved with them, and help you match those with your skill set. And we're going to help you also prepare through the coursework that's needed and the extracurriculars that are desired by those health professional schools. And lastly, we're going to help you apply to the interested pre-health program or the health professional schools you're interested in. Interesting fact about Wright State, we have over 500 students who have identified as pre-health, and it's pretty simple to identify as a pre-health student. It's simply having interest in one of those health careers that we showed in the slide before and connecting with my office to let you know so I can help you through that journey, and then really working to complete that necessary coursework and extracurriculars that the admission schools are looking for. Feel free if you have any questions about pre-health, how I can help you out. I will put my contact information in the chat box for you. It will also come up at the end of this presentation. I look forward to meeting you all in person. And then finally, rate her up.
Thanks, Rob. So finally, Ashley talked a little bit about it, and Dr. English talked about our internship and undergraduate experiential learning. Research and experiential learning, excuse me. So on your screen, you'll see a few of the areas where we have students who do internships and research off campus. Plus, we have a lot of students who do research on campus. In fact, we have a program, we call it the ASK program. It stands for Applying Scientific Knowledge. It is a grant that we have received from the National Science Foundation to support undergraduate students in doing research on campus with some of our primary investigators who are doing a variety of research, whether it's in psychology or environmental sciences or in biology and biomedical areas. So there's all kinds of research happening across campus. And so I'm going to ask Kai, who is with us. Kai is a chemistry major, and they began a internship last fall with a local company, and it turned into a part-time job. So Kai, why don't you tell us about your internship experience?
Hi, yeah, I have had a great experience actually with Willowdale Botanicals. I was given information about that position by Ashley. Thank you, Ashley. It's been really interesting working and learning at the same time, and I'm still definitely in the learning process at my current job. Something I'm very grateful for as a student, to be able to go into a workforce before I've got my full degree and see what the life of a lab technician is.
Great, thank you, Kai. And we also have Jeremiah Pennick. Jeremiah is a chemistry and a biochemistry double major, and he participates in quite a bit of research on campus. So Jeremiah, why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah, so my story of research is a little bit different than everybody's. I came into Wright State, and I think within the first week, I was talking to my chemistry professor, Dr. Pavel, about research opportunity. I guess she saw some potential because she asked me the very next week to join her lab. So that's kind of how I got started. So I've been in that lab for about 2.5 years now, and we're working with silver nanoparticles and synthesizing them and then exposing mitochondria to them and seeing how they interact. And because there is this theory that silver nano is actually antimicrobial, so it can help clean out some diseases, and mitochondrial diseases is something that affects a great portion of people, and sometimes it can kind of go a little missed in diagnosis. But as far as the research experience has been, it's amazing. The professors are super willing to work with you. They really love it when you come up to them and you express interest in what they're doing. A little hint on that, on the Wright State webpage, if you go and you look up the professor, you can most likely find what research they're doing. So, kind of put yourself out there, talk to professors. That's probably my best advice. And then, if you see a professor that's doing something that, kind of interests you, take advantage of that. I myself have been to 2 or 3 conferences. No, I've been to 2 conferences. I was supposed to go to one this month, but because of Corona, it got canceled. But, you get to work with some of the master's students, some of the PhD students, and, you get a little bit of presenting experience as well. So highly recommend getting involved in research super early. I know the Ask program starts your sophomore year, but, you can get research your freshman year if you really want to.
Great. Thanks, Jeremiah. And if anybody has questions for any of us, feel free to use the question and answer box in the slide, and we'll be able to get to those in a moment. We also have each semester, we try to do an innovation weekend where we take current events, current issues in the science or technology or environmental areas, and we come together for about 3 days and try to brainstorm solutions to those. So I know Jeremiah has participated in at least one of those, if not more. So you can ask him or others about that if that interests you. Finally, here is a list of all of our panelists tonight, and I'm going to turn it back over to Paige, and we are ready to take your questions, I think.
All right, thank you everyone who participated. What I'm going to do is leave this screen up for a few seconds. There I am. And if you want to write down any of this contact information, and I will get started with one of the questions is about research. So when can a student start doing research, and then what kind of research is available?
So I will start that. Students can start doing research usually in the sophomore year. So for the most part, in general, we like most of our primary investigators like to have students to have their math and their general chemistry and their biology 1, biology 2 under their belts. With that, it usually takes into their sophomore year. Sometimes, as Jeremiah mentioned, it can be as early as their first year. And if you come in with a lot of CCP or AP credits, there are some faculty and some researchers who are willing to start that early on. Also, as Jeremiah said, in each of our departments, so if you go to science-math.wright.edu, you'll see lists to each of our departments, and you can click on any of those departments, and in the submenu, there is a list to departmental research topics.
I just wanted to add that it's a good idea to not take on too many things in your first semester or your first year. Figure out how you're doing with your classes and then add on something like undergraduate research.
I will also add with the research question that, what kind of research is there? It really depends on the field you're going into, because the physics professors, the biochem, the chemistry, the biology, the psychology, they're all doing different levels of research, different kinds of research. Sometimes it gets really cool and you get interdisciplinary research, which is like, ooh, let's mix it all up and see what we get, which is so much fun. But yeah, sophomore year, I think, is usually a safe bet, because sometimes professors may want you to have a little bit of coursework under your belt before you start. But then every once in a while, a professor may see great potential in you, like they did with Jeremiah, go, wait a minute, you're thinking the right way. Why don't you come on in my lab? And so if they say, come on in, you say, yes, please. And you go right on in there and enjoy yourself and learn from that experience.
I'll also piggyback on that a little bit, since pretty much everyone spoke to on-campus research, which is definitely a great opportunity. And pretty much like everyone said, making yourself known, interacting with your professors, not just showing up and checking the box and leaving, but actually engaging with the instructor, asking what they're doing. That's really important. But there's also a lot of off-campus research as well. And that is usually more after the sophomore year. We have AFIT and AFRL. There's tons of research, especially in regard to the Air Force Base being so close. And they reach out to me pretty regularly, oftentimes for a lot of chemistry, physics, and bio. That's probably the heaviest that they're looking for. So that's always a good opportunity as well. We have lots of students doing research there right now. So there's on and off campus research. So just wanted to mention that piece also.
Thank you, everyone. That was great advice. So right now I am going to open it up for anyone to put questions, again, the chat or the Q&A. And then I wanted to share with you some of my contact information, as well as the College of Science and Math contact information. Also wanted to highlight all of our social media on there. Now that we are all in the safety of our own home, social media is a great way to get in contact with us. So whether that be through Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, both the College of Science and Math undergraduate admissions and we have Wright State general pages. Any of those would be good pages to follow, especially YouTube right now, because you got a little taste of student experiences through this presentation. But on our YouTube page, we have a lot of videos that kind of give a perspective of other students, staff, and faculty on campus. So the next question is, we kind of touched on the uniqueness of being right next to the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. If we wanted to elaborate the opportunities for there, and then other unique opportunities here on campus.
Okay, I'll kind of jump into that one. So one thing that I think really helps that can be confusing for students is that there are a lot of opportunities that relate to the Air Force Base, but aren't necessarily directly there, because Wright-Pat houses so many subcontractors. So there are a lot of periphery companies that almost exclusively exist to supply the Air Force Base with the research that they do, but that's not necessarily that they're a part of it. So like I mentioned, AFIT, Air Force Institute of Technology, and the Research Lab, AFRL, and then there's a lot of different other ones in the area, and like eBooks, I know does a lot of neuroscience. So those opportunities, that's something that I work kind of specifically with, is that I try to get employers on campus. I know we had some events planned in the spring that are on hold, or hopefully will happen again later, where those employers will come to campus, either do talks, set up a table, attend the career fair, so that you get that opportunity to connect with them directly. And that's actually how Kai ended up in her position with Willowdale Botanicals, is that the employer there happened to get my information, knew that I was the career contact for the college, and said, hey, I really need a student who has some chemistry, hopefully organic chemistry under their belt. They think would be a good fit to come help me with a paid internship. So I kind of worked the liaison to help with that. So if the Air Force Base is something that's interesting to you, reaching out to me would be kind of a great first step, and I can see what might be a good fit. And I have a bunch of different contacts depending on the area of research and field of study that you're interested in. So that's kind of my piece, but I'm sure there's other pieces that people might want to speak to.
Ashley is the best person, because you know all the contacts and what have you. I will say that if you're interested in doing that, sometimes reach out to your professors, because you would be surprised about how many professors are doing work on behalf of the base or maybe through a subcontractor. I know in psychology, we have a division called human factor psychology, which is essentially the study of how we interact with things, if you will, like what makes something user friendly. And so we have professors and researchers who do work at the base. If you're talking about designing and implementing machinery that is user friendly, or even studying the effects of how things work. So one of our graduate students was doing research last year on how in the past, when you went to go become a pilot, you went to pilot school and you sat in a cockpit and you flew a plane. Well, now you're going to go sit at a cubicle and fly behind your desk. And it's a very, very different feeling. So what they're doing right now is they're studying that research. How can we prevent pilots from getting that emotional fatigue from you're doing something that you were not trained to do, but you are eligible to do it. It can get pretty intense. But yeah, that a lot of times you have professors who do work on behalf of the government out of the base.
One thing with our closeness to the Air Force Base is that we have specific partnership agreements with the Naval Medical Research Unit, as well as the Human Performance Wing, as Sarah was alluding to. That means it's very easy for a student to go do research with those researchers. All the paperwork is already done. Sometimes it's very difficult when you're dealing with defense contractors and that kind of thing. But that's all been already worked out. So we have a lot of opportunities like that. So you would either go to Ashley, or you would come to the college office and we can set you up, or your own department.
All right, thank you. So I have a question for the two students that are on the chat tonight. It's how do you find your fit within the college, within the campus, and what are some strategies you have for first year students that are coming to Wright State?
I'll take lead on that. So everybody kind of starts out, whether you're a chemistry major, a biology major, a biochem major, physics major, you all start out with a pretty cumulative, like you take your general bio courses and you take your general chem courses. And, even for the most part, your general math courses. So you'll notice that a lot of the courses that you'll take are actually interdisciplinary. And within that, you'll kind of find that, you prefer some things over the others. So while, because I entered Wright State as a biochem major, but then after taking Gen Chem 1, I'm like, well, I mean, I can tack chemistry on there as well. Continuing on down to that path, I went and I finished up OChem the end of this year, and it was through taking that class, and I'm like, okay, organic chemistry is probably where my peak is. Like I really enjoyed that course. So as I pursue kind of further down the in my 4-year track, I'll look more to take more courses focused towards organic chemistry, and then you just keep narrowing it down from there. So I hate to say it's just kind of one of those things that just happens, that you got to just kind of trust in it. But it works for a lot of people, including myself.
Jeremiah, I'm sorry, before Kai jumps in, you're also involved in the RCA, correct? You want to talk a little bit about that outside of even science and math?
Yeah, so last year I was the Director of Public Relations for RCA. So RCA is the Residential Community Association. Basically, it's kind of like a group of students who oversees all of the residence halls. We focus on, getting students who are in the residence hall either integrated onto campus, integrated into residence life and housing. And as of this coming year, I'll be the president of it, which is kind of cool. I'm looking forward to that. But so we focus on integrating students into the campus, as well as kind of how Dean Circle does for COSM. So Dean Circle focuses, on providing opportunities for students to find, a pathway that they really enjoy. Innovation Fair, as Nick mentioned earlier, was something that that gives you, it gives you a problem, but infinite solutions. And you just got to find the one that fits with you. And then, kind of through that, you can say, oh, well, I have this type of thought process, which more aligns with, this perspective of science, or, and then you can kind of funnel it down from there too.
I think for my part, with regards to finding opportunities, is there is an aspect of looking. There is an aspect of joining clubs and seeing what interests you, even if it's only a little interesting at first. It definitely may grow on you. My second year here, joined the chemistry club, still being a psychology major at that time, actually, and was so inspired to change my major.
Thank you for that perspective. So I think Nick and Rob may have mentioned that pre-health isn't a major. So what should a student who is interested in a pre-health program, what should they major in?
Awesome question. Pre-health, like we said, is not a major. Students can major, and we'll say this loosely, in anything they want. With that being said, there are convenient majors within science, College of Science, and mathematics, and the reason they're convenient is your prerequisite courses. Most schools have a set of courses you must complete for the admissions process. Those courses are baked into most science-based coursework at Wright State. For an example, if you go into biology, public health, chemistry, psychology is a good example. A lot of your prerequisite courses will work into that major. We have students, I have a student who's a dance theater major. Her time with us is going to be extended a little bit longer because she has to take that next year, 2 years to really complete that coursework to move on to health professional school. So again, any major, but to get the time, really use your time wisely to get to your goal, medical school, and really in the profession, we'd encourage you to do a science-based major just because your time to degree is going to be a little bit quicker than if you do a non-science degree.
All right, thank you. So again, I want to just remind you, one last call if you have any questions about specific majors or about clubs or organizations, to put it in the chat in the Q&A. I'll allow all of our panelists, if they want to say one last thing to the students that joined us tonight, and then we will wait around a few minutes if anyone has any questions, and then we will call it a night. So if anyone wants to say a couple last words.
I'll take a moment. Thank you for joining us this evening, and I always enjoy talking about the neat things that we're able to do in the College of Science and Math, and especially being able to feature some of our students, because we're all here for their success, and if you join us for your success, we're here to help you and support you. So in many different ways, in class and out of class.
I want to say that one of the key things at Wright State is that I think it's a unique combination of people doing these cutting edge research level types of things that they are doing with their work, with the ability to have personal interactions with your professors. Usually that kind of level of research is at a large institution where you don't have the ability to really work with the professor. You might be working with some of their students, but we're just the right size where you can really have that interaction if you want to. That said, if that's not your cup of tea, you don't have to do that stuff. Thank you.
I just want to say that regardless, where you end up or what major you decide, to just find a way to take advantage of the resources that you have and to get involved. There are some students who go through their college years and they're like, oh, I think I need to take these classes. They schedule them on their own and they never really interact with an academic advisor or a career consultant or anything like that. And that's just how you hear about things. You think of all the opportunities that are discussed in passing. You might go meet with Sarah and she is looking over the courses you've taken and how well you're doing, and said, oh, I heard of this opportunity that Ashley was talking about in our meeting the other day. Or, a lot of those kind of side kind of anecdotal opportunities you don't want to miss out on. So talk to people, talk to your professors. Don't just have a shallow experience. Really try to join something, engage, put yourself out there as much as you can, because you'll really regret if you don't, but you might benefit greatly from taking those types of risks and take advantage of all the resources that you have. So that's my biggest advice.
I guess I would just say I really like what Jeremiah said about making friends in your classes, because it's something that's very naturally or organically is going to happen, because as you progress through your major, your class sizes get smaller and smaller and smaller. And when you do, those connections form, and you're hanging out with other chemistry majors, and you're hanging out with other biology majors, and you're connecting. I graduated from Georgetown University a long time ago, and I am still friends with people I went to college with. And why? We just all happen to sit at the same biology lab table. It just happened, and they've been there forever. So those relationships will happen. You just have to just kind of being open to that experience and just sticking with it. It'll get there.
All right. Thank you all again for joining us tonight. We'll stay around to see if anyone has any questions. Again, I encourage you to take down our contact information, give us a call, shoot us an email, or reach out to us on social media. But that is all we have for the presentation this evening. And so feel free to log off. But if you have any questions, let us know. Thanks, guys.